Training a dog to listen, especially in public settings, is a journey filled with both challenges and rewards. When I first brought home Max, a spirited golden retriever puppy, I was filled with excitement and trepidation. His bright eyes and wagging tail promised companionship, but I soon realized that with this bundle of joy came a significant responsibility, teaching him to listen and behave, particularly in the bustling world outside our front door. From the very beginning, I knew that socializing Max was crucial. I would take him to the local park, where dogs of all sizes frolicked and owners chatted. It was a sensory overload for him. New smells, sights, and sounds. I quickly learned that the first step in training was to establish a strong bond with Max. I spent hours playing fetch, tug of war, and simply cuddling. This connection would be the foundation of our training. The first technique I employed was positive reinforcement, a method I had read about extensively. Every time Max responded to my commands, even if it was just sitting when I asked him to, I would reward him with treats and enthusiastic praise. I remember one sunny afternoon at the park when I decided to test his recall. I stood about 20 feet away, called his name and said, "Come." To my delight, he turned and sprinted toward me, his ears flapping in the wind. I showered him with praise and a small treat. The joy on his face was contagious, and in that moment I felt a surge of pride. However, the journey wasn't always smooth. There were days when Max would ignore my commands completely, especially when he was distracted by the sights and sounds around him. One particular day stands out vividly in my memory. We were at the park during a community event, and the place was teeming with people, food stalls, and other dogs. I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to practice his commands in a more chaotic environment. I called him to me, but he was fixated on a group of children playing with a frisbee. I called his name again, my voice tinged with frustration, but he didn't budge. Instead, he bounded over to the children, tail wagging, ready to join their game. In that moment, I realized that my expectations may have been too high. I needed to be patient and understand that Max was still a puppy, and the world was a big, exciting place for him. I decided to take a step back and reassess my approach. Instead of expecting him to come to me immediately in a distracting environment, I began to practice with him in less crowded areas first. I used a long leash to give him some freedom while still maintaining control. This way, he could explore while learning to respond to my commands. Gradually, we moved to busier environments. I would reward him for focusing on me, even if it was just for a few seconds. Over time, he began to understand that listening to me could be just as rewarding as chasing after a squirrel or greeting a new friend. I remember one particular day when we were at a farmer's market. The smells of fresh produce and baked goods wafted through the air, and Max was eager to explore. I kept him close with the leash, and every time he looked at me instead of getting distracted, I rewarded him with a treat. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. As we continued our training, I introduced the "leave it" command, which became invaluable in public settings. I would hold a treat in my hand, let him sniff it, and then say, "Leave it." Initially, he would try to grab it, but with consistent practice and rewards for obeying, he began to understand the command. One afternoon at the park, I spotted a half-eaten sandwich on the ground. I knew this would be a test. I called Max to me and said, "Leave it." He hesitated for a moment, his eyes darting to the sandwich, but then he turned back to me. I praised him and gave him a treat, and I felt a swell of pride. It was moments like these that reminded me why I was putting in the effort. Of course, there were setbacks. One day, we were out for a walk when a particularly loud motorcycle roared past us. Max, startled, bolted in the opposite direction. My heart raced as I called out to him, but he was too far gone in his panic. After a few moments that felt like an eternity, he finally stopped and looked back at me, confusion in his eyes. I rushed over, relieved that he was safe. This incident taught me that training isn't just about commands. It's about building trust and ensuring that Max feels secure in unpredictable situations. To reinforce this bond, I started incorporating games into our training sessions. We played hide and seek in the yard, where I would hide and call him, rewarding him when he found me. This not only made training fun, but also reinforced his recall in a playful manner. I found that when training was enjoyable, Max was more engaged and eager to learn. As the months passed, I noticed significant improvements. Max was becoming more responsive, and our outings were starting to feel less daunting. I decided to take him to a dog-friendly café, a setting that posed its own challenges. The smell of food and the chatter of patrons could easily distract him, but I was determined to see how far we had come. I brought his favourite mat and encouraged him to lie down beside me. Every time he stayed calm and focused, I rewarded him with treats and praise. There were moments when he would get up to greet other dogs or sniff around, but I gently guided him back to his spot. One afternoon, as we sat at the cafe, a couple of friends joined us with their dogs. I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Would Max be able to handle the stimulation? I decided to put our training to the test. As the dogs played, I kept Max close and asked him to sit. To my delight, he obeyed. I rewarded him, and soon he was lying calmly by my feet, watching the chaos with curiosity, but not getting overly excited. This was a turning point for both of us. I realized that all those hours of training were paying off, and I felt a sense of accomplishment that was hard to put into words. In the following weeks, we continued to visit the cafe and other public places. I began to notice that Max was not only listening to me more, but also becoming more confident in himself. I would often see him looking to me for guidance in new situations, and that connection we had built was becoming stronger. One day, we were at the park, and I decided to try something new: off-leash training. I found a fenced area where dogs could play freely. My heart raced as I unclipped his leash, but I felt a newfound trust in him. I called him, and to my amazement, he came bounding back to me, tail wagging furiously. I was overjoyed. The freedom I felt in that moment was exhilarating. We spent the afternoon playing fetch, practicing commands, and enjoying the thrill of our shared adventure. It was a testament to our hard work, and I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come since that first day at the park. As the seasons changed, so did our training sessions. I began to incorporate distractions deliberately, such as other dogs and people walking by. I would reward Max for maintaining his focus on me, and I found that he thrived on the challenge. It was during one of these sessions that I learned another important lesson. Training is an ongoing process. There were days when he would be more distracted than others, and I had to remind myself to be patient. In the end, the journey of training Max taught me so much more than I anticipated. It was about building trust, understanding, and communication. Each challenge we faced only strengthened our bond. I learned that every distraction was an opportunity for growth, and every setback was a lesson in patience. The rewards were immeasurable. Seeing Max flourish in public settings filled me with pride and joy. Looking back, I cherish those early days of training, the laughter, the challenges, and the triumphs. Max is no longer just a puppy. He is a well-trained companion who listens and responds, even in the most chaotic environments. Our bond has deepened, and I am grateful for every moment spent on this journey. Training a dog is not just about commands. It's about creating a partnership built on love, trust, and understanding. And as I watch Max happily chase after a ball in the park, I know that all the effort was worth it.